Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juvecast, and this is episode 137. We're going to recap the match against Bologna, the 2-0 victory that sealed up what was a very, very nice round for Juventini. And to join me making his debut on the podcast is my man Ivan. Ivan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bud. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Like I said, this was a great round for us.
Yeah.
It just got sweeter and sweeter as the day went on, man. You know, we got both Milan clubs. One shit in the bed completely, the other only managing a draw. We had Conte seeing red, which was fantastic. That makes me happy as well. And then you've got Napoli losing as well. And then Juve comes out and gets the job done and keeps the pressure on. So it was great, man. It was absolutely great. And we're gonna, of course, recap that. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about, and it's always awesome just having discussions with you on Twitter. And we've always seen the butt heads on certain topics, and I'm sure it's gonna come up in this one. But it's always good. And I always appreciate the discussions, always full of respect. And I love it because you got people jumping in on both sides when we're going at it on Twitter.
Absolutely. It's all good.
But we do have a tradition around here for the first timers, and it's finding out the story of how they became fans of Juve. And I'd love for you to take the time here to share your story on why Juventus for you.
Well, I tried to, we'll let everybody know. I tried to put a background on behind me, virtual background, and my first Juve game ever was in 1984 at Toronto CNE Stadium, Exhibition Stadium, and it was against the Toronto Blizzard. For those of you who don't know, or our younger listeners and younger Juve fans out there, Bobby Gull, Roberto Bettiga was our number 11, but also when he left Italy, came to Toronto to play for the Toronto Blizzard. And with that connection, managed to bring the likes of Juventus and other teams. Even Benfica played Toronto Blizzard that year, or 3 days earlier before the game I watched. And it was a 0-0 final. It was a friendly, of course, but there was the likes of Tardelli and of course, God rest his soul, Paolo Rossi was there. So it was, not to age myself, 1984, I would have been about 6 or 7 years old. So I'm an old guy. So for those of you who are good in math, you can make the calculations. So, but yeah, and it's funny because my mom's a Juventina, but my dad, God rest his soul, was an Interista, which is quite the combo in my house. And let me tell you, the Derby d'Italia, from my recollection, were never good for my dad, or rarely ever good. And he got to hear on quite a few occasions, even when we weren't playing them and they were losing. It was just, and let me tell you, May 5th, 2002. That was a hard day for that man, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that day. So, yeah, that's, I have a twin brother, and we're both Juve fans. Younger sister, of course, Juve fan, but I have my kid brother who went with my dad and felt sorry for him and is an Inter fan. And, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say merda on this podcast, but
that's the only thing we call them.
So Merdaristi. Most of my dad's family are Merda fans, and one uncle is a Milan fan. So, but it's my mom's side, the smarter side, that is mostly Juve fans, if not they're Grande Torino fans as well, which I don't mind. I don't mind so much, right? So
yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. 1984 at that match, about 6 or 7 years old. I was born in 1984. There's very few that have joined me on the podcast, Ivan, that are actually older than me. So I'm usually the old buck around here, man. That's okay. That's good. That's an awesome story, man. Very, very nice. And the family stuff, I love it. Like I've been asked to, after pod shows, you get to know your guests and stuff a little more, and they ask, what's your family like? You guys support all Juve, and it's not actually the case. I have a lot of cousins, and we kind of cover everyone. There's Milanista, there is one that cheers for Merda, and then there's some that cheer for Napoli. The majority of us are Juventini, though. And I like to call us the smart ones. And then, but it's good times, and I love the banter. And believe me, I was throwing it at a few of those cousins after the Supercopa for sure.
I can imagine. That's the only way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Juve Bologna, the follow-up to that Supercopa, where we really liked what we saw out of the team from a fight perspective. Could it have been cleaner? Yeah, we limited Napoli quite a bit, but the chances they did have were top-notch. Szczesny was big.
Yeah.
But the attitude was there. I liked the fight.
Yeah.
Could it have been better in the final third? Absolutely. But still, I liked what I saw. How do we build? A lot of talk was about the midfield. Keeping that base the same with Artur, Benta, and Big Mac. And we saw that in the lineup going into Juve Bologna. We were going to get that again. Chiesa, not fit, so we were going to get Bernardeschi. And then Quadrado, Chiellini, Bonucci, Danilo, with Kulusevski, CR7 up top. I liked the lineup. I had no issues with it. Wanted to see if we were going to push more with Bernardeschi through his side, because we have a tendency to really stick to Quadrado's side when he's out there. And I wanted to see Big Mac start to really take ownership of this attacking mid-roll, because now the question mark is he or Ramsey. And for me, Ramsey does a lot of good things. You're wanting a lot more. And McKennie, I really like McKennie. He's an overall good, solid player. He may not be a master of any one thing, but he gives you a bit of everything, and he gives you his all. So I really like him. I like this lineup. I had a 3-0 prediction for myself personally, and I thought that's how it was going to go. Your thoughts heading into this match, and your thoughts when you saw the lineup, Ivan, and how you thought it was going to go?
I feel that after the Supercopa win, that I wouldn't say there was a monkey off their back, but they won a trophy, and there was one target, one objective that's met for the season. So they knew that they had it in them. I was comfortable with going into it, understanding that Mihailovic is a good coach, and he sets up his teams pretty stingy, and he's a good tactician. So understanding that, still there's no reason for us not to come out with a positive result. That stated, there's guys that can hurt you on that team, especially Orsolini, who had a couple chances on us, and and Tech made a couple of nice saves, especially one good save on him. So, comfortable with who we had on the field. I still think we suffer on the left side. I still think that we don't have next to Sandro a proper left back. I feel that also hamstrings Ronaldo and his play. So that's the only thing I can say is we need some more support on the left, and it's not putting Chiesa on his opposite wing. Chiesa's got to be on the right. So that's that. I like how the midfield was set up, and I'm our good friend Fasano will hate me for saying this on air, but I'm not a big fan of Benta this year, even though he had a strong game. Against Bologna, he had a very strong game. He's too erratic, and he scares me when he gets a yellow. As soon as he gets a yellow, he becomes a ghost. And I feel that he's a player stuck in a different era. If he was playing in the era of the 90s or even 2000s, he'd probably be one of the best mids in the league because of the because of how the refs call the game. He's hard. His challenges are hard, but the way they're calling games these days, no offense, it's it's a bit weak, right? Like if he's playing during the '90s, he wouldn't see a yellow, right? Like, and I'm letting everybody know I've seen the eras of the '80s, the eras of the '90s, 2000s, early 2000s, and 2010 onwards, and it's just the era he's in. It's the style of player he is. He needs to be. He needs to have a little bit more of an IQ when it comes to challenges these days in the league. He's got a fantastic footballing IQ. He really does. He's a talented player. I really think that he needs to watch his choices with challenging players. So, like, for example, a guy like Edgar Davids would get multiple reds these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Montero wouldn't see the pitch these days, right? Like and he had the most red cards ever, but in an era where cards weren't being shown as much as they are now, right? So, and there's VAR that looks back at stuff, like all kinds of that stuff. So, and the way the guys are put up top, what do you want to say? Like Morata, Ronaldo, like I'm happy with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good shout on Bentancur. He has surprised me and kept off of the cards for a couple matches here, which is shocking because he picks them up like nothing. And not only that, but the game is different. You touched on the officiating. The officiating in Serie A is questionable to say the least. Just such a lack of consistency. It's crazy. But these are all good points. And I agree with you with Chiesa. When he's in the lineup, he does have to be on the right side. The difference is crazy from one side to the other with that guy. But that's great, man. So lineups there, you felt confident. You were saying you felt comfortable. I think most Juventini did, but we know when we get too comfortable, what ends up happening. We've seen us draw some matches earlier on, but I do think Pirlo has changed quite a bit since then. The team in how he deploys the personnel has changed quite a bit. It's starting to make sense, at least. We had a lot of question marks prior, and then let's get into the highlights throughout the match. And man, this one again, just wild one. Like when you see reactions to matches and stuff, and everybody feeling so different across the fan base, and even from player to player. And we're going to get to that after, because this one was wild on what was happening with the fan discussions in terms of players. But we kick off the match. It's about a minute in, and Bentancur gets stomped, and you're thinking, Jesus, he's down. He's taking a while for treatment. 3-minute mark, Rabiot's warming up, and you're thinking, Jesus, we're not even going to get to see this midfield continue their work from the Supercopa. But the dude, he shakes it off. He continues on in the 4th minute. Cuadrado pushing forward, looking for a call there, but in my opinion, nothing there. You could see what Cuadrado was trying to do there, get his foot in front of the defender and draw that one there. But you never know with Serie A, going back to what we've seen and the consistency. You never really know, but no call. 6th minute and 9th minute, Big Mac looking like an aerial threat and getting in there. He's not able to latch onto one of these good, but he's in the mixer going for it, which is nice. And then in the 15th minute, we didn't have to wait too long. We had a good positive start. And we pushed forward. I think Bologna had just got an opportunity here where they were kind of finding some space. Looked like they were going to push us, but we moved the ball quickly as soon as we get it from the back to the left side. And bent it to CR7. He cuts in, stops a bit, passes it to Artur, who decides to have a go from range, which is very much welcome, as our midfielders need to shoot. All our players in general, I find a lot of the time, try to be a little too cute or try to get right in there. Just start having some rips. Del Piero was talking about it a few weeks ago. Just start having some rips. So he decides to have a go. It's deflected, blocked by defender, but it goes in the net. I'll take it. 1-0. Arthur's first for Juve, and a positive start. So it was good stuff. 17th minute. I mean, we're 2 minutes later now after going 1-0. Bernardeschi. Oh, man. So we make a great play. We make really good play. McKennie does some great work there, poking it past his guy and then out muscling it, getting there. Lays a great ball in front of Berna. And I don't know if he's caught between two minds or if he was actually thinking he could chip this keeper from there, but he gets it all wrong, like all wrong.
Completely.
And that's just flat out unacceptable, man. And it sums up Bernardeschi in a nutshell at Juve. But yeah, you can't waste opportunities like that. 19th minute, Orsolini, he's in our area. No foul called on Danilo, our Danilo, not theirs, because there are two Danilos in this match. At the mid, just crying around half field. No call on Danilo. They come back. Orsolini gets an opportunity, but luckily nothing comes of it. But again, it's, you get a great opportunity at one end. You can't capitalize. Not only can you not capitalize, but you don't get anything out of it, not even forcing the keeper to make a save or anything. And they come back and the game could flip like that. So all these opportunities, and we're going to get into more as it comes through here. And even Vishwajit mentioning that still top efforts from the mids and whatnot, but, we could have scored 4 goals or whatnot. This first half, could have been dusted, Ivan, easily.
Yeah.
We get 27th minute and CR7 with a nice drive after cutting to his left foot, stopped by Skorupski, and it falls to Bernardeschi, who this time does what he's got to do, directs it hard on goal, and the keeper just robs him, flat out robs him on that.
Yeah.
And 32nd minute, a nice counter by Juve, Quadrado carrying all the way. He wants to slide Ronnie. He does, but that defender's like kind of lurching towards him, but then backing off, almost trying to sucker him in to make that pass. And then Quadrado keeps carrying and carrying and carrying. Eventually gets to a spot where he's got nothing left to do, but he's got to have a rip. And unfortunately for him, sails it wide. And I think, honestly, as everybody wants to get on him in there, watching it live, I could see it. I was like, you know what? It's just not there. It's like that defender, like the angle Ronnie's at, if he hit it at the very first moment, he had the opportunity, like as soon as Ronaldo starts to make that run. But the second he waited just a little too long, that defender's got it out and Ronnie would be at a bad angle. And to be honest, if you're a player, if you're in Quadrado's shoes, if they keep backing up and you're going towards goal, you're in a better angle. You're 100%. At a better angle, you're facing goal. If they're going to keep backing off, I'm sorry, but you got to step in there. You got to take it. The problem is Quadrado's got to hit goal, and he knows it. Yeah. He said it today in his interview and whatnot. But that's just a tough one there.
No. So I want to talk about that incident because you get a lot of people online, on Twitter, harping on him and crucifying him for that play, and anybody who knows tactics or anybody who knows the system of play or how other teams line up, the talisman is Ronaldo. So that defender did the exact right thing, because if you're looking at who has a better chance of hitting goal and scoring, is it Quadrado or is it Ronaldo? The guy did the right move, and he took Ronaldo out of the play. As you said, if Quadrado would have touched it off a half a second earlier, maybe a different story. But also, Quadrado scored on the most ridiculous of angles that you would have never thought he would have potted it in. That, to me, that would have been a gimme. Now, you're putting that, I don't know, you're giving that ball to someone who's less skilled, like then I would have had a huge issue. But, Quadrado is a skilled player. So, he's got to hit that. He's got to hit that in the net. You saw it in his face that he should have hit it. People saying that Ronaldo was pissed at him, maybe because he didn't pass him right away, but there's no way. Ronaldo's too smart, guys, everyone. He's got too much of a hyper soccer IQ that he knows that he had to hit it there. They opened the seats for him. like they
Yeah.
parted the seas.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
If you're that player, you're carrying it to goal. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They take away that pass, they make it harder for you. I'm sorry, but if they're going to keep letting you carry and carry and carry, he gets to a spot where he's just about 12 yards away from goal.
That's right.
You have to have that go. It's just it is what it is. And yeah, I mean the defender. Yeah, you talked about it. It is what it is. It sucks. He had an opportunity for a split second, but that split second passed quickly, and he did what he did. He just didn't execute. So I thought for sure though he was going to score. I was like, man, if they're going to let you walk in from there, it's got to be in. But yeah, that was the unfortunate part. But again, we could be easily up here handily. This thing could be 3-0 right now, possibly 4 already, a half hour in. 40th minute. And again, we talk about opportunities not getting capitalized on. And then all of a sudden, 40th minute, Orsolini start working in our area again. He goes down, no PK. Danilo did very, very well to let up at the perfect time. But Orsolini was able to find Soriano, who didn't miss by much from the top of the area. This is one aspect I've seen creep up more and more over the past few matches with Juve. And it wasn't as bad against Bologna, and it wasn't as bad against Napoli. Maybe Chiellini is a part of it, but we bunch up. We have this bad habit of collapsing into the area, and all man marking is lost. So if you look back to the goal Merda scored on us with Barella on one wing, Ashley Young on another, completely unmarked. And they have options, and we all collapse. And it's fine if you're going to collapse if you still have everybody. But the problem is we're still not marking guys. Soriano here, we had 2 midfielders that could have been on him. Neither one picked him up. And he's able to essentially pick a spot and have a go. Luckily for us, he missed. But this collapse and losing shape completely, it just can't happen. And the fact that it is so frequently for us is frustrating. And it's something to look out for. And, man, like, if you're Igor Tudor, like, that's you, man. That's your job.
I was about to say that. That's his. There was a wicked graphic on Twitter where they were showing the bunch up and
showing the Allegri's
and the Allegri's lineup and the way they staggered and the what and I'm not a widow of Allegri, but I'm definitely someone who appreciated the way he set it up. And this is Pirlo's tactics. Pirlo's high press, movement, quickness, and sometimes getting caught upfield because of the high press. And if there's a team that with a good counterattack, they're not fast enough to get back. But I also think this falls on the rear guard. And what I'm talking about is the rear guard, number 1 in net. And I think that there's a difference. And believe me, this is not a slight on Tech. He's, to me, the best goalie in Serie A. I don't care what anybody says. He is. Like, don't give me Donnarumma. I've seen Donnarumma live. The kid is good, but he's not the best. And what Gigi does in the back line and the way he commands and his marshaling of the team, there's a difference. So, this is, and that's just the type, not all goalies are vocal. Like Tech is vocal, but they're not like Gigi. And let's face it, not many have been and not many will be. But, Gigi sees the game differently, right? And marshals the back, marshals the mid, and make sure that people actually take up their proper position. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. It was a little less, and I think we can attribute that to Chiellini and his organization. He's still not at his best game shape, right, physically, but he's one hell of a smart player. Mm-hmm. I keep saying IQ, soccer IQ. I believe in that. Unfortunately, there's a couple guys on the team that don't have the soccer IQ. Say what you will about Demiral, he doesn't have it. He's an absolute beast and bear, but he needs someone with intelligence beside him, right?
Yeah.
So
I've always said that in general, especially when talking about, well, even center backs, midfielders, it has to be a partnership. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can have the best individual, but if the rest of it doesn't make sense, it's only going to go so far, right? And center backs is huge. The chemistry they have to have, like, you got to have that guy that's calling the shots, but then you got to have the guy that's going out there and doing the dirty work, which is what Demirel would be perfect for.
yeah,
Demirel is perfect guy to be that enforcer and the guy that's going to go out there and, hey, you know what? We got to go through this guy, you know, set the tone or whatnot, win that ball back, like go out there, and one guy stands back and makes those calls, right? The beauty about Chiellini is Chiellini can do it all.
yeah.
He can be the guy that marshals, but he can also be the guy that, hey, you know what? We got to level up on Lukaku. I'm that guy. I'll do it. You know, because if De Ligt was in there, De Ligt would do it, and De Ligt would eat him like we saw that clip of him eating his salad. It'd be nothing. He'd make a meal of it. It'd be nothing. But Chiellini did well, and we got to think like, well, people were like, well, Lukaku still took him on a few times, still turned him around. Yeah, and you know he got turned inside out by Orsolini in this one once too. But the thing is, he's just been back for a short period of time, you know, and he still offers a hell of a lot more than Bonucci, especially in 1v1 scenarios.
120%.
Exactly.
I'm gonna mention a couple of center back combinations, not necessarily Juve, but one that screams out 1990 World Cup to your effect. Okay, Franco Baresi, the guy.
Yeah.
In the middle with him, most people don't know him, and thank God, because he was a Merda player, but Ricardo Ferri, okay? He was the absolute butcher. He was a butcher. He's the guy that cleans up, but Baresi was the one who dished it out, right? We can say to a degree the combination of Nesta and Cannavaro being more of the hard nose, where Nesta was more the elegant center back, right? Shirea, the elegant center back. Right, these are guys
when Nesta went out in 06, who was the butcher? Materazzi. He was a butcher.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
And that's the way it works. And we just, you know, the game has evolved, but I think the hard nosed stuff. I think the ultimate defender, if I can say it, like new age defender, to me is our boy.
Yeah.
De Ligt is, I don't care what anybody says, I'm calling it now. He's the best defender in the planet. That's bar none. He's better than any of these guys. I don't want to hear you, the Vry and whoever and VVD. Give me a break. No.
No, De Ligt's an absolute animal, man. He's an absolute animal. Just a unit, man. It's right. And, you know, going back to what we touched on this specific point of the match, the collapse we're starting to see, and they've got to sort that out. Vishwajit was making mention of the counters, much like you did too. And honestly, I've spoken about one tweak that would be all right is if you ran your attacking mid in the middle, box to box, just to stop those mismatches on the sides and leaving that space. We get butchered by like Roma, Merda, a couple other teams just find these little holes. They get in behind our mids, and then they're gone. They're off to the races and running at our D. And then, you know, if Bonucci's the guy back there, well, we see what he can do in 1v1 scenarios. So, but it's not fair to attack the D when we're allowing this to happen for sometimes the entire course of a match. And that's where I've had some criticisms of Pirlo is adapting, changing it up. And that's one thing that I've said he still has to do. It can't just be line them up. This is what we do. This is it. You do have to change based on what the opponent's given you and what's happening in the match. And I think he just needs to create a little bit of depth there with this lineup and this shape and be able to alternate just slightly to turn the tide for us when we need it. You know, but all things considered, we will get to Pirlo after. I think things are still moving on the up here, and you get matches like this where ultimately it's just us not being clinical, which is not on Pirlo. And, like we were all over these guys in this first half. They did come back at us with a couple opportunities, but nothing crazy and nowhere near the amount that we had. This first half literally should have been 3 minimum, possibly 4-0.
Yeah.
Like in this half. And it didn't end up there. But honestly, at halftime, I'm thinking this was the right attitude. It was a good, solid approach following up the Supercoppa. We ultimately limited Bologna. They got a few opportunities here and there, but honestly, we had so many quality chances. We just had to be clinical. But I liked the first half from us. And I was thinking, you know what? We keep up this way, we will get the goals and we will rout them. So I was feeling that way. What were your thoughts at halftime?
I thought that what I've always thought is, goalies seem to take steroids, in my opinion, against us because they get themselves psyched up for Juventus. Skorupski was absolutely all worlds fantastic in that game. Let's call it out there. Poland has got a good 1-2 punch when it comes to their goalkeeping standard. Him and Tech as their goaltenders, they're not crying for goalkeeping. So we listen. We could have been up 4-0 for sure. I was comfortable. I was looking for changes even early in the second half, but it didn't happen so much. But it seemed like it was another day at work, another day on the job, and it was a workmanlike job by Juve, constantly penetrating, constantly going at them, and it's going to happen. The team, there's two teams on the field. Yeah. Teams are going to come back and create something, right? So you just have to absorb it, and I just think that what we're lacking is the wherewithal or the actual comfort in knowing that we can absorb, right? And I think the team, because they've been rattled, and it's all it's psychological, that they think they can't absorb and can't keep the clean sheet. And I think they need to understand that, you're Juve. You guys are playing for the best team in Italy. You guys are playing for, possibly the best team in Europe. You could argue Bayern, but, I think Juve is in the top 2 or 3 teams in Europe. And, that's what these players, they need more cynical, clinical mentality.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think Chiellini and Ronaldo both have to impart on this team. And even Gigi for that matter as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. Well said. Very, very well said. Dat Calcio boy coming in saying agree with the subs being better this game as compared to prior games. Absolutely. We've got so much to talk about. We're gonna probably rip through these second half highlights.
Yeah, sure.
Get to the good stuff. 47th, man, Quadrato. I'm watching this thing at full speed and I'm thinking, did he just try to score on us? And Tech makes a big save. He's smiling, he's laughing about it. But honestly, when you watch this on replay, and if you've played the game, it sucks and it looks awful when you're watching it. But honestly, if you watch this, Chiellini's got his leg up, and I don't think Quadrado sees it until super, super late. Yeah. And the fact that it's coming in at this awkward height where, man, do you try to settle it? The guy's on his back. Do you try to settle it? What do you do? I think he just tries to head it this way out the corner, but it gets it wrong and it goes towards goal. Tech saves it. And Quad probably looking at him like, what, man? I'm just heading it back to you, man. Just catch it. Why can't you catch that? Scary, scary moment, though. And then, again, all Juventini are thinking, this is why you have to be better if you're Bernardeschi in that opportunity at 17th minute. You have to be better if you're Quadrado when you don't get the pass to Ronaldo, at least force a save from Skorupski in that opportunity earlier. If you're there was a couple instances there where maybe we could have passed into some better scenarios. It just, all these things start to mount up when you haven't put a team away. So things like this, the game turns like that. So it's scary, right? 49th minute, though, we continue to fight on. Bernardeschi, this is like a nothing play to most people because he gets up into the area and then passes into a midfielder. But what I saw was Bernardeschi, again, shying away from the 1v1 scenarios. Yeah. And that drives me absolutely nuts. I think back to a match. I can't remember who the opponent was. I don't know if we were trailing or we were drawing. I think we were drawing at the time. It was late in the match. You could see we were all going forward. It's time to make a push. He gets the ball. He moves up a couple steps and he passes it all the way back. And we're all thinking, Jesus, man, we're about to drop points. You have an opportunity to take a player on and you are more than happy to go all the way back and then the game's done. It's just, he's got to have more in him. And I get frustrated sometimes with Bernardeschi because I really have to question him. A guy that was never getting minutes and whatnot and still happy to stay here, fighting to stay here, doesn't want to accept a move at certain clubs or whatnot. And I gotta say, man, he's a weird one for me. Bernardeschi's a really weird one. But again, we'll go through the highlights. We'll talk about it in the player reviews because I want to hear your thoughts on Bernardeschi. But just a scenario that pissed me off where he backs off from the 1v1s. 54th minute, we're breaking up the middle. Arthur just puts a pass too heavy for CR as he makes a break there. And I was thinking, oh, man, that would have been beautiful. Beautiful for Arthur and that confidence and start to get him playing more direct. And good for Ronaldo, who was – you could sense getting frustrated in this one. Would have been good, but just miss out on that one. 55th, Orsolini comes right back with a really good attempt, cutting into his strong foot, having a rip on goal, but Szczesny makes a big, big save. 58th minute, and Sansoni actually gets a good opportunity, but he rips one high, trying to go short side. This was about the moment where I started to feel a little bit of a let up from Juve. And really, really come down in tempo and urgency. And I was thinking, let's get the sub. Let's get a sub. I was actually, it's funny because on my live reaction watch party there, I said, if I had more confidence in Kulusevski defensively, I would take Berna off right now, move him there, and bring Morata in. This is literally what I said, but I didn't have faith in Berna or Kulu's defensiveness to play there for that amount of time left, and we were only up 1 goal. So it was just interesting, but I did sense this let up. 59th minute, some great work by Juve working the ball forward. Quadrado seemed to be caught between two minds. He ends up having a shot from there, and CR7 was not happy there. Stopped by the keeper. And yeah, maybe Quad should have crossed that one over there. He had an opportunity again, kind of like that first instance. He had a window there, but it closes very quickly. And that's why I say sometimes our guys, we have certain players on our team that don't make decisions as fast. You know, you could tell who the guys that make the decisions quickly are. You know, Morata will make a quick decision. CR7 will make a quick decision. Ramsey at times will, but not always. But Corrado, Bernardeschi, these are the guys that think a little more, right? And it's not always there. But there are times when Quadrado is a quick thinker and he'll pull it off and he'll usually get that assist, right? You take the good with the bad.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Our systems of play for the last few years. Sarri was not a vertical playing coach. Sarri was a possession, and it was horizontal play, not vertical play. It was pondering, it's possession, it's trying to and giving too much time for it's to unlearn what they've been taught. And even Allegri was more of a absorb and build up the play, and it wasn't fast counterattack, and it wasn't vertical play. So these guys are trying to unlearn systems of play for the last 3, 4, 5 years that they've learned. And the new guys, aka McKennie, who's vertical play, CR7, who just is an absolute horse, vertical play. These are Morata's coming from Spain, and he hasn't been in this style of play, and it's these guys are listening to Pirlo because they don't know anything else from a Juve standpoint. what was taught beforehand. So you see these players, especially like McKennie or Morata, who are actually embracing Pirlo's system, right? And even Danilo, for that matter, right?
Yeah.
And even Chiesa. And Quadrado's always been quick. Regardless, he's always been one of our faster players, quicker players. It's the other guys that pondered too much. Like, for example, Pjanic was a ponderer, right, and wasn't fast to give up the ball. And Juve was at a risk of slowing down or missing I guess, the train on this new style of soccer that guys like Gasperini have put into play. De Zerbi with Sassuolo, with a faster game. So Pirlo, I think, is the right coach. He's got to get these guys to buy in or change.
Yeah. I get it too with the systems and everything, and I agree the systems are night and day from what's trying to happen. But in the final third, Sarri, Allegri, they all said those guys they're given the reins, like they're given freedom. Like Sarri specifically says, like in the final third, he's like they do that, and I've always had mixed feelings about that and whatnot. But I think in this scenario, like this specific point of the match where Cuadrado decides to have a shot from that angle, he's quite a bit of range too from there. Not to say he can't hit or whatnot. I mean, he forced a save or whatnot, but I think ultimately that's again where when you talk about soccer IQ, I think that's got to play into this one, man, because if I'm looking at that, you've got a window there where you can curl it in, and you've got CR7 on the other side. If it's me and I'm still at 22 yards out on a right angle, I'm probably going to try to get him on it because the markers have actually lost CR. Yeah, they were all watching Cuadrado come in. He's on the back of the far post defender, and he's got space between them. I think ultimately that's like a soccer IQ where, you know what, percentages, I'm going to try and play it in there for him as opposed to having a shot from way out here. But again, you could be going back and forth on this one for a while because the window got closed very quickly, right? He had that window where he could try and tuck that curl, but at a certain point, the D's back there and that window's gone. Now all of a sudden you only go over the top, and what was maybe a 70-30 is now a 50-50.
That's right.
So it's literally like that's how quick these things change, and everybody can I love the freeze frames. Everybody can freeze frame whatever play they want and look at it and speculate, but the game happens so fast.
That's right.
And if you were to break down every scenario like that, man, when you're playing, you don't get the liberty to say, okay, pause.
No,
okay, we're going to do this. But I think in that scenario, I would have liked to see that quick crossover. But nonetheless, doesn't happen. We feel that let up from Juve, but we'll see what happens. Hoping for Pirlo make a change still. This was 58th, 59th minute. 65th minute, we get a beautiful counter where we're going at them, and it's killed by Bernardeschi. It's killed by Bernardeschi again, not wanting to attack. And he stops, he cuts to the top of the area, and he's got no ideas. So he's cut in, he's stopped, he ends up flipping it to nobody. Literally flipped it to nobody, intercepted, and they come back at us. Frustrating stuff. 67th minute, finally. That change I talked about earlier, I didn't have faith in Kulusevski's defense, but I was thinking about it. Pirlo does it. Morata comes in. Bernardeschi goes out. Kulusevski slots over to the left side. Not long in, and Morata gets involved. There's the energy. There's the spark. You get a let up, change the tides, Pirlo. Get a change. You get some fresh legs. Morata gets involved, makes a great run. Nice pass from Cuadrado. Morata tries to chip in. Keeper stops it, goes out of bounds. What happens? Corner kick. Big Mac. Yeah. Big Mac, and I guess we should call him Magic Mac now, too. The Harry Potter lover there with his little wand. 2-0. Love this kid, man. Really, really love what he's brought in a position where we needed that. We needed an all-around guy. So I loved it. 2-0. And then again, after that, 2-0. The confidence comes back. Energy comes back. Morata's there. CR7 finds Big Mac in front. And Skorupski again, man. Skorupski. Point blank reaction save on Big Mac. Nobody understands how that didn't go in the net.
Absolutely.
And then 77th minute, 3 changes. De Ligt in for Bonucci, Rabiot in for Arthur, Ramsey in for Kulu. Really, we see this out comfortably. 85th minute, Barrow gets an opportunity. He goes wide. 86th minute, Rabiot with a nice carry. His touch got away from him there, but he was able to still fight through it, get the ball. Forces a good save from Skorupski again. And then, 89th minute, Quadrado drives through, finds CR7, and he gets absolutely stoned by Skorupski. So it is what it is, man. Ultimately, this game, we had a little bit of let up in there, but we hung on. I think Pirlo could have made a change a little bit sooner, but all in all, man, a good win. And we keep the momentum going. This was a good round, like we talked about the other teams dropping points. And this is probably the best spot for this team to be in, having these young players, being a new project with Pirlo, is to be the ones chasing.
That's right.
It sounds stupid, and I know many Juventini are probably like, dude, what are you talking about? Let's be top. But honestly, it's so hard to be on top and stay there. I think for this team, where they're at right now, about 7 points out with 1 match in hand, it's good. We're like dangerous, you know? And even if we as fans are not happy with our team's play and know that we drop points that we shouldn't have dropped.
That's right.
We're still in all these other teams' minds.
Absolutely.
Like we still are 100%, even if we're a work in progress. And I'm telling you, I'm waiting for it. And we all saw what happened last year in a tight race. If Juve can get things going and Pirlo's starting to find a rhythm and he's starting to get the guys starting to figure this out, we're scaring. We can do this, man. We can do this. I'm liking it. I'd rather be this team chasing, man. But yeah.
Yeah, they're teams don't like us being where we're at. They don't like dropping points. You saw Conte absolutely go nuts after the game, or right before the end of the game, when they were given 4 minutes only of extra time. A couple of friends, especially one that I know, he says, watch Milan will come off the rails sooner or later. There, especially with regards to Ibrahimovic. He's older, and even though he's the talisman and the guy who actually pushes the team, and you saw them try even with Mandzukic, and he wasn't even effective, right? These guys, with the sheer fact that if anyone, be it Napoli, be it Merda, be it Milan, if Juve wins the Scudetto, it's on them. It's on them because Juve's this is I would call it a minor rebuild, a retool, right, of Juve's team. And where we're at, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm with you. I'm happy where we're at. I wouldn't mind another striker to fill in. And I'm telling you, I'm going to ask. I know Agresti said it's not going to happen, but I'd knock on the door for Dzeko. You're talking about Europe, man. Even for Europe, he could play for you in Europe in those games where he's one of those. He's the prototypical player that could play with Ronaldo, just like Morata. He's also a prototypical player that those games where you want to rest Morata and Ronaldo can play with Dybala. Mm-hmm. He's a player that could play with Dybala. 100% can play with Dybala. So that's, anyways, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm happy with the teams that I would like an extra striker. I don't like the idea of Scamacca. I really, really don't. He could be a really up and coming striker. That's for the Atalantas of the world to bring up an up and coming striker, not us. If we're going to go after anybody, I'd rather them wait for the summer and go after another big name and go for that. He's a stopgap, and I just don't think that he's enough. I really don't. Like he's not enough.
I think, when we're talking about this striker too, it's like I think they're not after it's just got to be a fourth striker, like fourth option. I don't think they're going to do anything crazy to try and do this. So the other thing is, do you benefit more from the playmaker than you do a fourth striker? But I agree with you, and it's something I've talked about for a while on the pod, is that even if you're talking to Kulusevski, so Kulusevski, Dybala, and Ronaldo, they need a true 9 in there. When you watch this system and you have Ronaldo and Dybala up the top, you have Kulu and Ronaldo up at the top, it always looks awkward unless Morata is in there.
It's disjointed. It's very disjointed.
Yes. There's too much freedom amongst those other guys, and nobody stays rigid and is that focal point and that target guy. And Morata does that, and that's why you just need another 9 that does that. And I hear you, man. The shouts on who you could name, I think there's several out there that you could. The whole thing about Scamacca, and not just Scamacca, even when they're looking at some of these other prospects that they were looking to bring in, I think when you talk about that, it's like different because it's in terms of Juve, I think being forward thinking in terms of when things turn around, having these guys that you could make some money on, right? And start to turn that and start getting some plusvalenza in, because I think it's smart if they can do that and position themselves for when that time comes. Because if we look at our roster, you're going to have a lot of guys that we're kind of stuck on. And we're going to get to roster and contract renewals and stuff here. I mean, Dzeko
he wouldn't cost much. He's at the end of the year. He's out of the team, as they say. Him and what's his name? What's the coach's name for Roma? I forget. His name escapes my mind. They're on the outs. They're on the outs, and his contract is expiring at the end of in June. What do you offer?
Yeah.
5
yeah.
million?
It's tough here. I think honestly, I called it for a while leading into this Mercado. I said, I think Juve makes one actual move of where a guy actually plays and actually joins the roster. I think the rest were going to be what we're seeing. Some young guys, some prospects being picked up and things like that. And I'm okay with that. If some are good enough to make it eventually, that's cool. Otherwise, bargaining chips, you can never have too many of those too. So we've done quite well with bargaining chips in the past too. And we made a hell of a turn financially. What was it, 2 seasons ago? So the creative mid or the striker seems to be what everybody's humming and on for. And honestly, I think we're in a flux when we talk about players. We want to talk about player reviews and man of the match. So right off the bat, for me, man of the match, I think you'd have to. For me, it's McKennie. Yeah, I had McKennie as the man of the match. I had Tech as a pretty close second, but. Again, this kid, he's got an engine. Like I said, he's not a master of any one thing, but he does everything. And he's just he showed a willingness to get involved in the attacking phase. He was an aerial threat throughout this match. We talked about in the 6th and 9th minute, he was going after these balls in there and creating havoc. And that's what we need. We need a midfielder that's just going to go out there and just create some havoc. Maybe the ball falls to Ronaldo, whatever, because you're occupying 2 guys, because you're just being a beast in the air, whatever. He's doing what he needs to do. I think that was a hell of a bargain, man. That finding this guy was props, whoever found it. And if it was Pirlo that called out for him, man, good on him.
Well, from what I understand, there was a profiles that were handed to Pirlo, because we know it's Cherubini and Paratici that manage, especially Paratici manages the mercato, so the transfer market. So I think that the profile was already there, and from what I understand, Pirlo said him.
Yeah.
So it's been magic. Like, he is. I'm not going to say he is Arturo Vidal. He is an Arturo Vidal type signing, whereas he was on Bayern Leverkusen. He was a decent player, but relatively what's the word I want to use? Unaccomplished. He was new, young, and then made his mark with Juventus, right? And the same would be with McKennie. I also do think, to be honest with you, Juve's mentality has changed over the years. They are uh, a brand. They are a company. They are a corporation. They're not stupid. They're tapping into a market that they haven't tapped into. They've tapped into Asia. They've tapped into Europe, of course. They haven't tapped into North America as much as they did in the other regions. So I think that this was okay, great. Bonus, he's American. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for one guy in the offseason. There's only one guy that would make me happy in this offseason.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it later. But reviews, I'm with you. Man of the match, McKennie. I'm with you behind with Tech as well. And even Arthur, for that matter, was his best game. Him, and even in Bentancur, it was their best.
Yeah.
The mid, it was the best game our mid played this season.
Yeah, it was a good match for those guys, that group, for sure. Player reviews, we're talking about striker or creative playmakers. So I want to talk about some of these guys. Kulusevski. So Pirlo talking about Kulusevski before this match against Bologna and saying that he likes him as that second striker or whatnot, because he's better with the freedom and whatnot. And myself, I think I like Kulusevski up there when he's with a 9. And it's night and day from when he plays with Morata to when he doesn't up there. Because in this one, there was a certain time, I wanted to make a note there, but there was a certain point in this match where he actually completely disappeared for quite some time. And it's just he hasn't quite found a home yet. I want to ask you a question, because everybody's trying to figure this out again, whether you go for that 4 striker, you go for creative mid. I think Kulusevski could be a change-up at that attacking mid role. I think, does he have work to do? Yes. He would have some work to do in terms of responsibilities defensively, and his duties defensively. But it's one of the reasons I don't like him out as a wing back. But I think at wing back, he's completely rendered useless for his skill set and his abilities. When I look at him up top, I see a different struggle. I see his touch let him down, and his ability to play with his back to goal isn't where it needs to be. So for me, the best I've seen from Kulusevski is when he's running at defenses, when he's able to see the field ahead of him and either pick a pass or carry it further and then dish off. But he does have good vision, and he can play like that. I would like to see him given a shot at that role a la Ramsey, because I think he would honestly do a bit better than Ramsey. I could see him being there, and I'd have more faith in that working out than him as a second striker, to be honest. And I just want to get your thoughts on that in terms of Kulusevski.
I agree with you completely. With Parma, when he was his best, when he saw the net, when he was going at the net, he was the best. When he was coming from the left, coming from the right, mostly from the left, that these guys that's where he thrived. He was also the guy in Parma, and he's got to adjust that at Juve. He's part of the sum of the all the parts, right? He's part of it. He's not it, right? Because that's pardon me, he was it. Like he was it. Like he was their guy. He was their playmaker. He was their scorer. He's wasted on the wing back. I don't like him there. If we play, I don't think he's got like his back to the net. He's not a 9, and that takes a special type of player to hold up, play the 9, dish it off, so you can make the run, so you can make the movements. That's a Morata. That's a different type of player. He's not used to that. He's never played that. I don't think forcing him as a second, even a second striker, in my opinion, is where he needs to be. It's just that the shape of the team that Pirlo needs to change, because right now, like that's not conducive. Like, where do you play him? How do you play him? Do you play him on the left, going in as a striker? Because then you're leaving yourself vulnerable in the mid with 2 guys left there. The way Pirlo plays the wing backs, right?
Yeah.
So then do you change the shape and make it a 4-back with a 4-4-2, and you do a diamond, right? Right, a diamond mid. That's all dependent, right? And so what do you do then? Do you then neutralize your other midfielders and neutralize their talents? Because if you do that, McKennie's rendered almost, I won't say useless, but McKennie's runs through the middle are absolutely incredible. His timing's impeccable. So it all depends on situation, and this is where you were saying earlier that Pirlo needs to change. If something's not working, he needs to say, okay, I got to change shape, and I got to change things where I got to move guys around. And he's also got to move. He's got to set up his best formation so that if the change needs to happen, it's made with the least amount of actual subs. Even though we're talking about 5 subs, regardless, you don't want to impact it that much, right? And for me, it's that, like, I really liked Arthur, I really liked Benta, and I really liked McKennie in the mid. So then that leaves you with the 2 up top. And I really think that I would hold off on him being a striker and putting him in the mid. I really would. How that happens, maybe he's an option off the bench, maybe he's an option in different games. But I want a striker because I know who I want in the midfield in the summer. There's only one person I want in the midfield in the summer. That's it. No Awar, none of that BS. It's one guy.
Fire away.
Look at that, Lee. That's it.
There you go.
That's the only guy. Even if Pogba comes, he's a cherry on the top. That's fine by me. Okay, that's fine if they want to go after the big market guy that puts him over the top with Adidas sales and do the marketing. That's Juve style now, and leverage that. Fair enough. Okay.
You know what's interesting, and I had a great discussion with a Juventino today about it, and it's funny, man. When I was getting frustrated with the team's play under Allegri's final season, I was told, man, you're thinking about FIFA. It's always FIFA with you and performances. I go, no, that's not true. I said, beautiful football to me does not mean 5-0, 6-0, whatever. You could win and play a beautiful match. You could win 1-0. You could win 2-1 and play a beautiful match. I said, that's not what it's about. To me, when people talk about, man, you're thinking about FIFA, it's the market. It's the player acquisitions. It's all this that where they get FIFA-esque, they start talking about all these players and it's all these big names. Oh, this guy's not good enough. When I was making shouts for Juve to pick up Barella, and everybody's like, man, he's not good enough for Juve. Whatnot. This kid is a killer. He's a killer, man. And he's developing into one of the best, and he's the future for the Azzurri. And we missed out because we wanted guys that, it was market. It was a market opportunity. Bring in a guy on a free, even though you're going to pay him mass wages. Barella would have made nothing in wages. Yeah, you would have spent money on a transfer. But you would have spent peanuts on his wage. And it was at a position we needed help at desperately. Yeah. And this is why I think the big change has come for Juve is because in terms for me is I feel like sometimes we aren't building a team per se. and we're filling holes, and like market opportunities, what we can afford. Oh, we're handcuffed now with all these guys. We have to just settle for this. Whereas, and you can attest to this, when we're thinking back for quite some time with Juve, it's always been your roster was complete. Your team was, so you were building a team. You had your grinders, you had your skill set guys. Everybody had a role, and then you had your clutch go-to guys, where we're just like no nonsense, all business, smart, high IQ guys. Like it all fit. It was all good. It was just, you build these teams, and we've kind of gone away from that, maybe in chasing these names and the markets and stuff, and the exposure has maybe left us kind of on the wayside there. But in terms of me saying FIFA, saying people are thinking about FIFA when we're talking about acquisitions, everybody goes back to this midfield. This midfield was nobody's, Pogba came out of nowhere on an 800K transfer or 400K transfer. Vidal was a nobody. Yeah. He came to us. He was a nobody, developed with us. Marquisio came through our ranks. Was a class player. Pirlo, we took a stab at. Nobody knew how that was going to go towards the end of his career, whatever. Pirlo was an absolute delight what we got out of him. But that midfield, again, you have two huge cogs of it that were nobodies before that. So to write guys off before we even, and to just say, oh, they're not good enough, it's kind of crazy. And even McKennie is a prime example of building a team, looking at a guy's skill sets. And even when we're talking about players in general, and I'm kind of all over this when people are like, well, he's doing absolute garbage over here. He's struggling. He's not, he's not finding goals or whatnot. Look, how did people feel about Morata coming back to Juve? And Morata's been crucial.
How about Chiesa? Let's talk about
Chiesa is a prime example. Morata is another example. This is why I say systems, building a team. Look at a guy's traits, skills, and abilities, and assess if it's going to make sense for the team that you have and what you're building, and is that what you need? Yeah. Because, if you want to sit here and go after the big names all day, you're going to be disappointed because it ain't going to happen because, number one, the times we're in right now, the money, it's just not there. Nobody's doing it, well, But these other guys, like Locatelli's a great show, man. The kid's
he's so
talented. He's got a great vision, man.
Him. So if we can't get him, it's one other guy. If we can't get him, the only guy. Listen, for those of you that want Pogba for that
nostalgia, man. I'm not gonna lie, I like Pogba.
No, but if you're feeling nostalgic, fine. Pogba did. When people saying he hasn't been the same, he's had the same numbers per game with Man U that he did with Juve. So none of this, and he's played less minutes, by the way. Yeah. But if let's Pogba aside, okay? Because I think that's, in my opinion, right now it's a pipe dream because of COVID. DePaul is my secondary. DePaul is my secondary.
I like DePaul a lot, man.
I would get for the price you would pay for Paul Pogba, you could get Locatelli and DePaul, and you can shore up that mid like no tomorrow. And then you'll call me crazy. We'll talk about transfers after, but you'll call me crazy if what that would mean to me and what I would do in the midfield.
The nice thing about DePaul is that's your creative guy right there, man. He could slot higher up the field and kill teams. That's your Papu. People want Papu, but like DePaul's your young Papu, man.
I agree, David. I see him. He goes, Pogba's the reason why, huge reason why United is from first. I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. But he's not staying at United. It's done. He's not staying at United. They're not happening. Not a chance. People say he's rethinking it. No way. Not a chance. He's not staying.
Yeah. No, he's got to move, man. I think it's just it's been a matter of time. Honestly, I think it would have happened already if it weren't for the times, man. If it weren't for COVID, he would be gone already.
Well, I think Romano had said that. Fabrizio Romano had said that was the case. That if
Yeah.
COVID didn't happen, he was a Juventus player again for the most part.
Yeah, man. There's no doubt in my mind, man. Man, holy, this is good. We just got off on a little tangent there. Let's bring it back to some player reviews. So we get questions coming in now as Chiellini starts playing, a few matches there and getting in there. Center backs moving forward. If everybody's fit or whatnot, how do you line us up at the back? Everybody fit, Ivan?
Oh, easy. For anybody, I don't care what they say to me. It's an easy. If we're talking about three, the back three, or you asking 4 or back 3?
Back 3.
Oh, it's easy. It's De Ligt, Chiellini, and Danilo.
That's what I got too, man.
Everybody sits on the bench. Danilo has been our best seat because the other guys have been injured. Danilo has been our best CB this whole season. He is an absolute. He's been a star back there and a breath of fresh air. And we totally destroyed that deal with Man City. I don't care what anybody says. Plus Valencia, and we got rid of Cancelo, and we got Danilo playing the way he's playing.
Danilo, for his consistency this season, I think he's in the discussion for top player so far this season just because of how consistent he's been at that position. And he's been like the only one that's been that consistent throughout. And, guys have had injuries and COVID and whatnot, but man, he's been great. I can think of 2 performances where he was off. That's it. It.
So Danilo, De Ligt, Chiellini. If Chiellini's fit, then that's what it is. Bonucci, and Demiral and Dragozin, sit down, enjoy. But that's who I'm playing. And then healthy, my wing backs are going to be Cuadrado and Sandro. That's what I'm playing.
And you bring it up, and I asked this question on Twitter today, and I said, okay, you're going on the right side. Who's your pick if it's between Cuadrado and Chiesa? The winner receiving 59%. So you got to play right wing because Chiesa went on a tear there before he got his knock and got injured and stuff. And people were starting to see an upside at having him there as opposed to Cuadrado, who obviously was out because of COVID and whatnot. And it started changing, and people were like, man, I really like what he's bringing here. And especially in the matches when Danilo was tucked behind Chiesa, that was beautiful to see, actually.
Very nice.
And it started bringing up the questions like, man, is Chiesa above Cuadrado on the depth chart? So what better guy than a guy who wanted to talk about Benita to answer this one? My man Ivan here.
Yeah. No, listen, looking at everybody, you see comments, and if I was a younger, more, and I'm an Aries, so I'm pretty fiery dude, and that's the person I am. But I see some stuff where guys are harping on Cuadrado, which I don't understand. I really have a hard time. Does he make some, like, you shake your head and like, dude, honestly, really? Like, what are you thinking? But that said, the difference of play of this team with Cuadrado on is night and day. We have Cuadrado against Inter. We don't lose. We don't lose.
That's a bold statement.
We don't lose. We don't lose. You know why? He gets the other side thinking. The way he comes up on the play.
And I got into this discussion after that match, and honestly, when people were talking about us missing guys and whatnot, and honestly, man, I saw so much wrong in that match from Juve that I don't think any one guy we were missing would have really turned the tide.
Guys.
What?
2 guys only.
Because honestly, man, we got that, and this goes back on Pirlo because of how he chooses to attack. And how we were utilizing Ramsey left us completely murdered. And poor Frabotta had to get roasted time after time after time after time, and our manager did not make an adjustment. And that part frustrated me. And I think even, you get Cuadrado on that other side. Should you choose to still attack a team that was happy to line up 5 across the back, in which even if we weren't playing Merda, Juventus struggles when teams park a 5-man flat right at the back to create. That's right. I think they still pick us apart through that if we attack in that manner. I'm not saying Cuadrado would not have helped us. I just think that particular match, like, I don't know if he's – man, De Ligt would have been a big key guy to have in
the two players. If we have De Ligt, so let's call it right now. Bonucci is not a defender.
Well,
doesn't defend, guys.
Yeah.
He doesn't defend.
No.
His shortcomings were masked so many years by Zaghi and Chiellini. So many, and Buffon for that matter. Okay. With De Ligt in the middle and Panita on the right, we would have been different. Fabrotto was getting fried, right? Yeah. This is our shortcoming. Again, I think I may have mentioned it to you offline or whatever, but we need it, or even tonight, we need a left back. I don't think Pellegrini is that left back. I don't know what the option is. I know that Sandro, he was gassed as of last season. Like from last year, he was gassed. And now, he's recovering and so on. And he played a lot of minutes last year, and he's not getting any younger. But that's we need help on that left side. Not so much the right. And I'm telling you why we don't not so much the right anymore. Because of the option of Chiesa over Cuadrado. That's where our right is shored up a bit, depending on how you line up in the back. If you're lining up at a 4, right, then you're playing Danilo right and Panita's on the bench. Because if I'm playing a 4-4-2, let's just say, then he's not on the field on my midfield. I play on the wing. I play the wing with Chiesa on the right. If you're doing a 4-4-2, I'm not playing Cuadrado. That's not happening, right? That's not happening.
And the thing is, this is great too from Andre here. Pirlo wake up on the wrong side of the bed for the Merda match.
He probably did.
Yeah. So in terms of Cuadrado and Chiesa, a lot of people were actually responding. So it was 59% in favor of Cuadrado over Chiesa at right wing back. And look, does Cuadrado have his moments? Absolutely. He's also racked up an insane amount of assists. So at least he's producing still. So it's like, it's not all bad, that's for sure. But it is a big matter of give and take with him there. But honestly, if we harp on him for defensive duties, the other options, Chiesa, he's going to struggle defensively too, and he has. There's been lapses where he's left his guys completely gone. So you're going to get that with any of these guys. Kulishevsky, when he's at wing back, it's a horror show defensively. So it's like you're going to get that. But in terms of a lot of the answers that were coming back saying play both, you play Cuadrado and you play Chiesa ahead of him. This I don't like. And the reason I don't like that is you're taking away a midfielder. Because if you're going to try and do that, so say you line up 4-4-2, we know that the way Pirlo wants to attack, it's always going to turn to 3 across the back. That's so right. If all of a sudden you have Cuadrado and you want to put Chiesa ahead of him,
no.
Okay, now you're down to your 2 CBs. So what do? You're going to say you go De Ligt and Chiellini. Okay, so at left back, what do? You want to put Danilo, he'd be your third back. Cuadrado pushes up naturally. So then your other side, what are you going to do? You're going to play like Sandro. Okay, that's great. But now again, you have Chiesa slotting forward. That leaves you with 2 mids. Or you play another midfielder out on the opposite side, but none of our guys can play that outside role. So now all of a sudden, you've actually taken away a midfielder to get Chiesa in there. So the only way it works for both of them is if you plan on using Chiesa as one of these attacking mids, which I don't think we should. So it's one or the other, personally, in my opinion. And that's how I see it in terms of how Pirlo's system works and he wants to attack.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The only time, listen, it's more the consistency of Chiesa and fitting into the system. He's gonna eventually win the spot over Cuadrado. Let's call a spade. That will happen in due time, but not right now. It's not right now because he's not mature enough to take that spot yet. He's getting there. But if I would see anywhere, again, but it's even on the left, he's that's not his right. He has to be on his right.
Yeah,
you have to be on the look at the Milan game. He was unreal.
It's night and day, man. It's night and day. I find when he's on the left, and this is another thing with Pirlo we talked about earlier, and this system and this setup, and what I see when you want to push from one of those midfielders and you want to make it a guy that's on either the left or the right side, is sometimes we become too one-sided in our play, too predictable. And we've had several matches where even through no fault of Chiesa's, he's rendered useless because we can't trigger that.
Yeah.
We couldn't trigger it in the first match against Barca in the Champions League. And Pirlo said, he goes, we couldn't even get Chiesa involved whatsoever. And again, I think that's just part of Pirlo sorting that out and figured out. I think it's one little tweak. I'm going to keep shouting about it until he checks out the pod and tries it out. Just put one guy straight up the middle. Just try it with the attacking mid. McKennie could be McKennie. Just give it a go, man. Give it a go.
I would love to see McKennie do that. Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Box to box, attacking mid straight up the middle. Put your other guys on either side and let it roll. That'll give you some defensive stability. No more of this just passing right to one offside and come down our throats. Spread it out. Let McKennie rip right up the middle. And it naturally creates more passing triangles for us if we do this, because the forwards could stay more rigid. Morata could slide. CR would have a lane to penetrate with, and McKennie could fill in the holes and be the trailer. It could work. It could work.
So would you play Arthur and Benta on either side of him?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Arthur looked good as a mezzala. He really did.
Yeah. I would go them on both sides, man. I would literally let McKennie just be the straight bomber up and down, across the middle. And the nice thing is, when he's the attacking mid coming out of the middle there, he's only got to come back as far as the other two. He doesn't have to go beyond them and be this defensive like Casemiro or whatnot. He only has to come back to level it out the line, right?
Yeah. Well, David's making me laugh. I used McKennie as a CAM a few times, and he kills me. That's
nice. That's nice. That's great, man. I love that. I love that shit. Okay, contract renewals. There's guys we're gonna rip through, and there's guys that are gonna be a little bit of a discussion here. Let's kick it off with some guys that. So these guys have 18 months remaining, and the question is obviously, do you renew? What do you do? Mattia Perin.
No,
of course not. It's a move. Deschilio.
No.
No. Costa. No.
And nonetheless, we want to occupy another bed at J Medical.
Yeah. Khedira, who could still be a January signing. No. Hey, it's okay.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Buffon.
No.
No renewal for Buffon?
No.
Okay. I would say I'm fine with it for a 1 year. As a backup still, he's great.
Only on one condition. Someone's up for renewal at the end of the season with another team.
Yeah.
So you sell Tech, get a plus Valenza, and you keep Buffon with the Donnarumma for 1 year under his wing. That's
Yeah.
the only time. That's the only time I would say yes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Buffon actually one more year. A Khedira,
Yeah.
yes,
A
no.
century renew.
No. I'm okay with Buffon actually. Yes, one more year.
Vishwajit, I don't know what time it is where you've got to be drinking, my man. You got to be
Ah,
drinking.
so
I like that, man. I like that. No, yeah, okay. So Buffon, Chiellini.
no, he's. I'm okay with that. No,
Yeah, I fucking love Chiellini, but his body can't do it anymore, and I'd rather have a roster full of guys that can go the distance. And in terms of people want to say, well, that's not consistent with Buffon. Buffon's a backup; he's not a starter. So
yeah.
you're doing it for Buffon is fine. Plus, we got the GOAT himself, Pinsolio,
Yeah.
always as the steady failsafe.
Yeah.
Bernardeschi.
No,
Yeah,
not a chance.
I agree. Let's get to the good stuff. Okay. Panita Cuadrado.
1 year max.
I
would say 1 year with a second option for the team.
this
Max.
is
That's
and
max.
David comes in with Chiellini here. I let Chiellini decide. His form is good now. We'll see how long he can do it. I see Chiellini shifted to a bit part next year. Yeah, that's fair enough too. So Panita, I want to talk about Panita. I would be, and this is gonna. People think I have this hate on for Panita. Okay, like I hate for Cuadrado. I get frustrated by him 110%. I'm a very reactionary fan when I watch the matches live,
Me
and
too.
I'll tweet shit. It happens. I don't hate Cuadrado. He is a great utility player.
Absolutely.
My thing is, I don't see him as a plan A guy. That's no fault of his. I put it on management. We talked about earlier about filling out your roster and not settling at positions and whatnot. But for 2 years, quad, I'd be okay because he's a utility guy. As a utility guy, if we're signing him on 2 years, thinking we can bank on him as this plan A starter, then no, we've got to figure this out.
I think the plan A is Chiesa, and as I said before, I think plan A is Chiesa. I think Chiesa needs to more continuity and he's getting used to the minutes and used to being a Juve player. But it has to be the right term. What I mean by term, it's got to be the right dollar amount. Let's not get crazy. If this guy starts wanting 3, 2.5, 3, even like okay, 2.5, but 3 million up. No. That's not happening. You're not a $3 million player. Like, sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the term's got to be right, even on any of these guys. I mean, it's got to be right.
But it's an option. It's 1 year.
Yeah.
I would make it a 2-year deal. 1 year for sure. 1 year team option. Team option, not his option.
Yeah. Cristiano Ronaldo.
100% yes. 100% yes.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Cristiano Ronaldo should be renewed. And I know he wants to be renewed. He loves Torino so much because of what it allows him from a familial lifestyle. I don't know if he'll take a hometown discount. I don't know what that looks like. I think they're going to talk to him and say, this is our reality. You like it here. We want to keep you here. Let's work it where you'll make more in some of the sponsorships with Jeep or whatever, or however it works. It's got to be right for the right amount. It can't be $30 million. That's 100%.
Well, this is the thing, and the 30 million is what he takes home. Eh?
Oh, it's 60 million. Well, it was less, but now that the Italian government took away that tax benefit to the teams, it's more.
Dude, this is oh my god, my Twitter's gonna be just fucking lit tomorrow. I think this is not by any means a knock on Cristiano Ronaldo, but in terms of this team, I don't think it's a good decision to renew him. In terms of financials, what we could do to the team, I see us needing more. If we go through a Ronaldo term and see nothing like towards the end of it, and we have a lot of guys on our roster that we're stuck with or handcuffed. I just I don't know, man. I just
it's got to be for the right amount. I'm not gonna. It can't be for the 60 total that Juve is just under 60 total that Juve is on the hook for.
yeah.
I think that it's if he renews, it's going to be for another year. I don't think it'll be 2. I think it's his decision. Anything like this is Ronaldo's decision, not the team's decision. Really, honestly, to be honest with you, I think I understand maybe from the team standpoint, but from a marketing and corporate standpoint, he's a moneymaker, man.
And look, I said that, like, performance wise, fuck, man. The guy's chasing 100 goals and trying to break Sivori's record.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough to do, but still, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing, all that, I get it. But at the same time, like, if you logically break down this roster, this team, it's a tough one if we go through it without something at the end, because of how many guys have done that to us recently and are going to do that to us coming up here that we're going to get caught up on, right? It's a tough one, man. That's a lot of money. If we get a hometown discount, like, he loves it and he wants to say, fuck, okay, great, but if not, shit, man, I don't think we can. I don't think we can.
The only way that I say where he's not signed is that we signed someone like Haaland to replace him, and that's just the way it is. Like, that's the only, like, people say, the Mbappe. I have absolutely no interest for Mbappe. Absolutely, I have. If you want to hear something, this will shock you. I think he's overrated.
Oh shit! I like Mbappe, man. I like Mbappe.
He is overrated. He is to me such a prima donna. Like, I like players. No, I like players like Zlatan or guys like Haaland, who are hard nosed, in your face, will tell these reporters off, like, and say, I'm it, and whether you like it or not, that's me. Like, the Zidane of the world did that, even though he was more quiet. The Vieiris, when he was with us, like, these guys, they don't care. They're it. They're the alphas. They're the alpha male. Okay, Mbappe's not an alpha male.
Yeah, he just kills it for me in FIFA, man. That's all.
But in FIFA, you know what? Like,
I was just fucking with you. I was gonna try and play a David line there, like David here.
Someone says to me, line up your best forwards for one game. Him and Neymar will never be in my strike force ever.
I'm not a big Neymar guy, man. I'm not a big Neymar guy, but I do like Mbappe, man. I just think, like, I don't know, man. I don't know when he first hit the scene, man. Something's changed. Call it, I don't know, man. I don't know. Call it hype. Call it the fame. Call it whatever. He's still a young guy. I don't know, but I do like Mbappe, man. I really, really do. But Haaland, I love Haaland. Haaland. He's a killer, man. He's already a killer. David Bruno, Football Manager. Juve, come on, bro. Okay. Take it easy, Dave. Take it easy. Okay, here's the one. You and I. Holy shit! Have we had discussions on this? But it's almost like fitting that this podcast where you join me on, Ivan, came at this time of the season, because I do still stand behind what I said, that the discussion was being had a little too early, a little too prematurely. But the last name is Paulo Dybala, 18-month. I know your answer already, but I'm going to let you go ahead and speak your piece, and then I'll kind of chime in, and let's go, man.
I have 2 answers for you. He signs at $8 million a year, he can stay. He signs for anything over $8 million, he can go take a hike. He is not worth $10 million a year, which ends up being like 20, whatever, 22, whatever it is on the books. Okay. And here's the thing. I'm talking about the alpha male that's taking the team by the horns and running with it. He's a secondary guy. He was a secondary guy when Pepita was here, and Pepita was the guy with him, when they were rolling together with him as a secondary. Okay. The same was the same when him and Pogba were here, and we still had he was playing with Morata. I think the last year Morata was with us before he took off. Like he's a secondary role guy. He's not the it guy. He is very temperamental. He is very I'm going to say weak-minded. He's had a few shitty things happen, like COVID, of course. And he had the gastro stuff. And anybody who's had gastro issues, it just knocks the wind out of you. You're malnourished. You can't think straight. Your stomach is your engine, and it feeds your brain. Like all of this is off. And he was weak at the beginning of the season. I was harsh on him, okay, at the beginning because he wasn't well. You can see it. Muscle tone was down. He wasn't feeling well. But at the same time, what I didn't like was his outburst saying, why aren't I playing to Pirlo? You at that point, you are not Juve's Juve. You are not Juve. You are Paulo Dybala. You are a piece of the puzzle. Okay? You are not the puzzle. And I have an issue with players. It could beat anyone, even Ronaldo. When he walked out last season, when he got subbed, that's bullshit, right? This is Juve, and we'll get into this after if we can. But for me, Paulo Dybala is too temperamental, too emotional, and it's good to have some emotion, but if it's misplaced or misused, it's detrimental. And I really do think he needs a coach, a mental coach, if he doesn't have one. And I think that I heard when Chiesa scored the goal against Milan when he dished it off to him, right? And they went to the corner flag, and he says, "Next time, come to me first to say thank you, or come hug me first." Why?
But I don't think that's I don't think that's
that's an ego thing, man. I have an issue with that.
Okay, but here's
one egomaniac on this team that's allowed to be an egomaniac.
Here's the thing, though. In one way, you're saying you like these alpha males, you want these alpha males. A player asking for time and wanting more minutes and stuff, that's kind of the alpha thing to do. You come up and speak your mind. Whether we agree if he should have been getting those or not, if you're asking for a guy to be an alpha, and then you get some of the traits that he is, and then you kind of crucify for him at the same time, it's kind of a tough one. That whole Chiesa thing in the corner there, whatever, man, I don't know. I didn't think a whole bunch of it, man. But honestly, when I look at this, and we talked about it earlier in the season, and you touched on it, there was so much shit going on, and then all of a sudden you have now we get to this point of the season. I truly believe before this last thing, we saw 2 matches where he was getting back there. He wasn't there by any means, but he was getting back there. And it was night and day from what we saw before to the last couple of matches. He still had a long way to go, and we know he's better than that. But in terms of Paulo and what he's done for us, and even last season, the way he hits the season, the fact that the contract renewal wasn't even done prior to that, he's essentially asking for the same money as De Ligt. And honestly, last season, after what he did, how he played and whatnot, I think I wouldn't have had an issue come that summer that we say, yeah, we want to give him the same money as De Ligt. Because honestly, and when I looked at this team and I looked at it then at that point, I would have said, yeah, I would picture these guys being pillars for the club moving forward and creating a new core, a new spine or whatnot. De Ligt, no question. But I don't think he's out of line by any means to ask for the same money as De Ligt.
De Ligt is the best D in the world. Dybala's maybe in the top 30 strikers in the world. Maybe top 30 strikers.
Yeah. It's tough, though, because Dybala is not essentially like your true striker though. Like he's not. He's kind of like, there's matches, and especially last season, man, when he's in form, he does footballing shit, man. Like shit that you got to play the game. You got to really know the game to be like, fuck, man, what this guy's doing right now is phenomenal. And most neutral that just watch will not pick up on it, not know it. And you talk about earlier about the IQ and whatnot. When he's on, he makes the game flow so nicely for us. He's progressing the ball like where it should go naturally. He's finding the spaces. He's breaking the lines. It's great. He's not your true out and out striker. This also can be one of the knocks on Paulo, is because you have to find the way to get him to fit. And I understand that as much as I love Paulo. There's goods and there's bads. The goods are fucking definitely there. And when he's on, it's incredible.
Yeah.
There are bads, but there's good and bad with all your players. When we break this down with Dybala and a renewal, man, it's a really, really hard one for me, because again, it's no different than looking at this team and the future and the financials and what are we doing. You can easily say, yeah, we move him because he'll bring in a bunch of money. But at the same time, what's going to happen down the line? Like, who's next? Who are we getting? Whatnot. If we make an incredible trade-off and we can get a couple spots filled, okay, that's great. But then you still have Cristiano Ronaldo's ridiculous one up. But maybe Father Time's catching up a bit.
Yes.
A bit there in some performances, because he's been a little down there. Maybe it's a rest thing, as some of his fans have been saying, that he just needs to be rested. But to me, regardless, it is what it is, and all the players are going through the same thing. And I think Father Time might be catching up just a bit to him. But again, you factor in all these guys and the changes. Morata's on a loan with a high buyout clause. I think we get a second loan season.
Yeah,
at like a 5 or 10 mil.
You buy him at that point, because the money, then it works. So, if Morata keeps on going, you buy him. With Dybala, listen, Juve does not want to get stuck again with the same situation with the wages that they've gotten stuck with before, i.e. the Khedirs of the world that don't want to move. Like, look, these guys don't want to move. Like, we make it so comfortable. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. People need to know. For those of you who have never been to Torino, it is an extremely livable city. Rocco said something once. I forget the way he put it. I forget how it works, but it's like they're rude behind your back, but courteous to your face, unkind to your back, but they're always courteous to you no matter what, or they're a little bit stuck up, but regardless, it's an extremely livable city, and they love living there. Juve's got a fantastic facility over there, be it the actual stadium, be it the training ground. It's now become a destination. It wasn't like that a few years ago. It's now a destination. For those of you who are post 2006, okay, prior to that, Juve was a destination, and for a long time we weren't, and we had to overpay and whatever. Now it's become a destination, and what they need to figure out is, some of these guys don't want to leave. Like, we're having problems with Bernardeschi. What happens? I'm just saying, what happens, okay? If we sign Dybala for the 10, right? And even then, it's not my money, so I wouldn't be heartbroken, but not 10 in bonuses. We're talking about 10. 10 all wrapped up, that's it.
Yeah.
What happens if he has 2 more worse seasons or 3 more worse seasons after that? Like, I know he could go the other way. It's all.
And here's the thing is, fucking hell, man. In my mind, I bank on Dybala any day. If we're comparing to Bernardeschi, you know what I mean? Like, fuck it. Again, there's a body of work there, right? And it's what you have to go on in some degree. I mean, Dybala has put up the number. Whether we want to go to his bad season, for those that want to harp on him, and I will agree though, his Champions League match count on knockouts and stuff, yeah, okay, needs to pick up, but there has been performances in those knockouts where he's done, again, the footballing shit well and stuff. So it's just, it's tough, you know, if you're going by stats on the Champions League, I get it. But again, in terms of body of work and what he's done for us, I don't think that 10 mil is anything like, I don't think it's anything crazy, to be honest. But he's 27 years old. So depending on the extension, how far you put it out, I don't think it's anything crazy to what we're going to do.
What do you extend him for?
In terms of years?
Yeah.
So he's currently in a contract to 2022?
So that's 2 more years, another season after this.
So it's next summer, I think. So the summer of 2022, right?
So he'll be 29?
So he'll
28?
be 28. So if you extend him for a couple of years, he'd be at 30.
I wouldn't do more than 3 years max.
Yeah, and that's like even a 2-year extension or whatnot. Put him at the same wage as De Ligt. I honestly don't see a problem with giving Dybala the same money as De Ligt. If it were up to me, I say keep in terms of this team and what we have. I don't see us ever suffering a massive value loss on Dybala. And honestly, now's not the right time to try and move him anyways.
Yeah, and that's something that, again, I'll bring up because he's a really good friend, Rocco. He goes, this is a bad time to cash Dybala because it's not because of COVID. Because, you know, you sell him for 65, but in good times you sell him for 85, 95, even 100, you know. Depending on who you know, if it's a PL team, they'll go into the 100, right? Because of exchange, right? But
I think that's part of the thing too, right? Push come to shove, man. I think right now I keep, but you sell.
Yeah. Just one thing. Dell's 09. I'm not crazy. I never said that Mbappe is no good. I never said that. I said he's overrated. So don't misquote me, man. I never said that he's no good. Absolutely not. He's a good player. He's not the type of player for my team. That's all. He wouldn't be part of my team, and that's it. But to misquote me saying he's no good, I never said that. So
man,
that's straight.
That's cool. Okay, real quick touch on the Coppa Italia tie versus Spal coming up.
Sit everybody. Let the young guys play it out and let them sweat it out. Sit everybody. I would put Pinsolio in net. I would put both Dragons in. What do they have? What do they play? The 3 young guys, De Ligt. What's rumored? De Ligt, Demiral.
So it's De Ligt, Demiral, and Dragusin.
The triple Ds, as they call them.
Triple D. Throw the triple Ds at them. They were talking. The lineups are all over the map. We'll have to wait till tomorrow. I think a good mix of some guys. Now that Chiellini's back, I think Demiral should play because Demiral's going to not get minutes. Let him go in there. Dragusin, I'm fine with. I'd probably go Gigi. But yeah, if you want to put Pinsolio, sure, man. He needs a break from all that social media stuff anyways.
Pinsolio's the GOAT, man. The GOAT.
And then, man, Bernardeschi could play too because he's just making cameos and whatnot. But I mean, if we don't know how Chiesa is, I could see even not playing Bernardeschi if he's going to have to fill in again. But we'll probably fill in more. I think either way, we should be winning this tie. Come on. And this would be a terrible, terrible match if we dropped it. In this, and David Bruno, Pinsolio. There you go. We'll see. Extra time. This is it. We're wrapping up a pod. It's been awesome having you on, Ivan. And I know that there was some things you wanted to talk about. So I specifically set aside some extra time for you to touch on some things you want to, which one was, I know, Agnelli, and the other was just what it means in general to you to be a Juve supporter.
So I see some mixed stuff about Andrea Agnelli from, not so much the Twitter guys that I follow on from Italy per se. It's more the guys in North America and some of the stuff saying that he's a globalist, this and that. He's a money man. He makes money and he's a winner. It's embedded in his blood. His uncle, his grandfather, everybody. Like that's who his dad. That's who he was, who he is. He's an Agnelli. Okay, tiger blood, whatever you want to call it, right? Blue blood. Like that. It is what it is, and that's what they are. They live a charmed life, but let's not take away from what he's done with this team since 2010 and what he's built. He's built a stadium. He's built a state of the art training facility. He's built a brand. He's rebranded. He's brought in possibly one of the best players of all time. He's won multiple trophies with this team. He hasn't won the big one, but he was close. And I think I'm not kissing his ass, but it's like, let's get real, boys. Who do you want? Aurelio De Laurentiis?
Fuck no.
Like, come on. Who do you like? Who do you want at the helm? Like, was it Samparini from Palermo there? Whatever his name is, that guy who fires coaches at will. Like, guys, let's get real here. Zhang is with, like, whether you guys want to know this or not. Zhang is a big proponent of Agnelli because he likes the way he works. They are pushing for this Super League because he gets the job done. He's a money man. Now, what it means to be a Juve fan, very quickly. And you're going to probably look at me like I have two heads or whatever. I've never cried for anybody that's left Juventus. Not Del Piero, not Buffon, not anybody who's ever left, because once these guys are gone, they're legends. But that jersey, that the black and white always stays. So these guys that, I hope some of these guys from these CR7 guys listen to this pod and give me a break. Like, give me a break. And even some of the guys who go banter back with you, like, give it up. Like, poor Ronaldo, no. Or shut up, don't say poor Ronaldo. Like, give it up. This is a team sport. This is not a one-player sport. Has Ronaldo been scoring most of our goals? Yeah, but he's getting support where it needs to be. And he's getting the ball and to get, he's got to be getting it from somewhere. So for me, my rant is that it's not about the players. It's about this team. It's about this team that's Juventus, that's near and dear to my heart, that I've seen so many games played, so many wins, and a lot of heartbreaks as well. But in the end, you're still cheering for the team regardless of where they're at. You can get pissed at them. You can be upset. I was upset the Inter game. It ruined my whole day. Absolutely ruined it. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's these players come and go, but those colors always stay, man. And that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. It's like, let's give it up with this arguing. I see so much arguing online, and that used to be me, right? That used to be me. I'm not willing. The only guy I'm willing to argue with online is No Skill Phil. Let's hope he sees this. That's it. That's my only rant about that guy. But that's
all right. Touching on Agnelli, yeah, I mean, who else would you really want at the helm right now? Like, that's the thing. So, and all the good he's done, and it's incredible. We've gone on a run that will probably never, ever be duplicated, ever. And sometimes you just got to sit back and actually think about this, and it's crazy, but it'll never ever be replicated, in terms of the Super League and stuff like that, it's wild. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. I know FIFA has come out and saying that no player that partakes in that will be playing in the World Cup or anything like that. So
did they care?
Exactly. See what ends up happening. I mean, this is going to turn into a pissing match 100%. And everybody could see it coming a mile away that it was going to end up being a pissing match. But we'll see what ends up happening. In terms of the players and everything, and it's like, I've gotten that thrown at me too, because it's just like affection for players and whatnot. But I honestly make decisions, I make my opinions, I make I try my best to make them from a team standpoint. Just like when we were making our discussions today, looking at everything, looking at financials, looking at the other guys on the roster, and just building a team really and whatnot. But I do understand and kind of sympathize for fans that do get emotional or whatnot with players, because it's doing this podcast really opened my eyes to a lot of Juventini out there and what it actually means to them, because I've talked to people who were in dark places and Juve was an escape. And Juventus became that escape for them. And the guys like Del Piero, Buffon pulled them through. It was something that they could look forward to amidst the tough times. And I understand making that connection with it. And when a player like that retires or whatnot, there's so many memories established there and held on to that. I understand it. Is it the be-all, end-all where we need to, pledge this allegiance to a player? I will never understand that. I will never understand that part of it.
That's my argument. I don't mind them. It's the okay, Del Piero's done here. I can never watch Juve the same way as I watch.
No.
I've seen that, and I'm just like, no, that's not it.
It's the other way, if anything, because Del Piero made me fall even more in love with Juventus.
That's right.
The thing that these guys did, and how many clubs have a story like we do about 06, that while it was dark and whatnot, we had a guy that was the best in the world, with teams opening up their checkbooks, blank checks, and he chose to stay and sacrifice a shitload, both for career, both financially, everything, to help dig this club back and bring them up top. We had all these guys do that, but Buffon was at the top of the world as a keeper at that moment in time. And for him to do that, and people want to say, well, it's 1 year he played in Serie A. It isn't 1 year, because it took what, 5 or 6 years to rebuild to get to the point of winning titles again. He sacrificed all that time, and that trophy that everybody wants to fucking throw in his face about not getting, he probably would have if he chose to leave at that time.
Yeah, no, there's people. Anyways, I don't want to go into it too much, but to throw it in his face. Listen, when the supposed best goalie of all time, when people argue, Iker Casillas wears Gigi Buffon's shorts to bed sometimes before, when he was wearing his shorts to bed sometimes before big matches in order to gain confidence. Something is there. Like, that's now. I consider those two. I consider those guys 1-2 in the last 30 years. That's just my opinion, right? People can say Kahn. People can say whoever Neuer, whatever, right? Whoever was in the top, Peter Cech, if you want to even go that far, but whatever. But no, for us to have players, it wasn't even just Gigi, even though he was at the top of the world. We're talking about Pavel Nedved, who stayed. We're talking about Mauro Camoranesi, who stayed, or
Del Piero, Trezeguet,
right? Like, we're talking about these guys.
Those guys were later in their careers as well. But speaking in terms of Buffon, in terms of career trajectories from that standpoint, Buffon was just ascending, right? And it's crazy, but it was wild for all of them to do that, because even Del Piero at that stage of his career could have went all over the place. Nedved could have gone, Trezeguet could have, and the fact they didn't was fantastic. But it's actually, like, while being such a dark point for us longtime fans, it was still incredible to see that. It was wild to actually see that.
Yep.
And the fact that you go through that and get to where you are now, it makes exactly what we're going through right now all the more incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think everybody needs to take a step back sometimes, and even when we get really, really down and we lose our patience in terms of performance and whatnot, we really need to take a step back and actually think about things, because Man, it's been incredibly good, more than bad, for quite some time now, and we are in good hands. We question things. Do they make mistakes? Sure. I mean, you can call them out on a lot of things and a lot of moves and whatnot, but ultimately it's good. This project right now leaves me feeling very excited.
Yep.
For the future, especially. I think we're on the right trajectory. I like everything. Man, this has been a hell of a pod. We went way over time.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
But it's been absolutely amazing having you on. I want to ask you one question because, again, I'm usually the senior around here, but I gotta ask you, in terms of your time following and supporting Juventus, who is your absolute favorite player that's been a part of Juve during your time of supporting, and why?
So, this is a tough one because it's between two guys. One we've already mentioned, which is Gigi. But if I have to say the guy that made me dream that anything was possible, it was Roberto Baggio.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Baggio for most of his career was playing with one knee and did what he did.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say about that. He, to me, is the best. He is the best Italian player that I've seen in my lifetime. He is by far the best Italian player that I've seen in my life. In my lifetime, we're talking about all the players. People want to argue Totti was better, Del Piero was better, whoever. I'm going to tell you right now that I've seen all three in their prime. All three have had significant injuries.
Yeah.
I will tell you that Baggio's injury, even though Del Piero's was bad, Baggio's injury was horrific. Okay, and at a younger age, I can tell you right now that Baggio for me is the best Italian player, possibly of all time. Again, I didn't have the pleasure of seeing Riva or Rivera or all the guys before my time. I saw some film clips. Of course, YouTube is great for that, and seeing clips of stuff, players. But for me, Baggio's untouchable.
Yeah, I love that, man. And Baggio was like right at the point where I started getting into it with my dad. You know, and I remember just watching, like, it was mesmerizing, man. It was absolutely mesmerizing. Like, there's just not, you can't, you just stop and admire, man. Like, it's crazy to see. It's nuts, man. Like the goals, like he could score any way possible. It was magic. It was absolute magic to see. And I just remember, like, my dad, man, would go on and on about these goals, and then like calling the friends after and just being like, just talking about these goals forever, right? Like the guy was absolutely insane.
For those who are on here, I know it's a goal that was scored against us, which is by two players that played for us. One was Pirlo and the other was Baggio.
Yeah, that goal for Brescia.
So Pirlo launched it for Baggio, and Baggio made Edwin van der Sar look like the scarecrow that he was in that, and it absolutely scored one of the best goals I've seen ever. From in a play standpoint, from Pirlo's beautiful ball to him, his finish, which is unreal.
The touch to settle that ball and pull it in over to the side was unbelievable. Like it's a crazy goal. So anybody that's with us now or even listening to this, look up that goal, Brescia goal, Baggio against Juve, but Pirlo's ball, incredible, and Baggio's touch and unreal. But man, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that one goal. And then the one that lit it for me, 1990 World Cup, Italy against Czechoslovakia.
That goal was sick.
Yep, and that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
And if anybody wants to go further, just watch Italy's matches in the 94 World Cup, and you'll see Baggio just ridiculous. They don't even get a sniff of that final without Baggio, man. It's crazy.
Oops. Yeah.
And yeah, that's it for this one, man. Been incredible. It's been a great show. Ivan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks everybody who joined live and got your questions and comments in. Make sure you like the video too, and please subscribe. We'll do another pre-match day live for the Coppa Italia against Spal, and then of course I will have another guest for another post-match podcast. Yeah, thanks again, everybody who joined live, and we'll be back next time and see you then. As always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.